Hey everyone, my name is Mickey Ebert. I am doing my screencast presentation, and my historical figure is Blessed Edmund Rice, and my current trend is regarding school vouchers. Blessed Edmund Rice, he was born on June 1st, 1762 in Ireland. Very successful businessman, but he was born when the penal codes were being enforced, and that means back in Ireland then, Irish Catholics were not allowed to be educated as the English believed that would help them control them more. So most of the Catholic children at that point were educated in secrecy. And Blessed Edmund Rice was no different. He was educated that way as well because he was a devoutly Catholic man and was devoutly Catholic during his upbringing as well. He also was a very charitable man. While he did run a very successful business, he was known as living almost two lives, that of the businessman and that of being someone who was an agent for the homeless, orphans, widows, and anyone needing assistance, both financially and with physical assets as well. It took him many years to achieve great success as a merchant, particularly a merchant one. But however, he had a turning point in his life where his wife passed away from an accident, and at the time where she was dying, basically, she gave birth to a daughter who was handicapped. Um, Edmund Rice's half sister eventually moved in and helped him take care of him, but this was a very trying time for him. During this time period of turmoil, he became uneasy with his wealth, and he turned to Christ more so than ever. In 1802, he decided to settle his business affairs, and he wanted to devote his life to prayer and helping the poor. He decided that he could do this best by educating the poor boys of Waterford, as he saw the nuns and the sisters at this point in the area doing that, but he felt there was not an advocate for the poor boys in the area. Eventually, when he started a school, he used his assets to build a Catholic school named Mount Sion. This was very difficult at first, but eventually his schools did thrive. And I did say schools, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but he did have multiple schools. With the arrival of more men wanting to help him, he did eventually decide to form a new society known as the Christian Brothers. This is an ongoing thing to this day as well. The Christian Brothers are a very charitable group as well. Today, the Christian Brothers are a worldwide organization. They're not as big as they used to be. I think that's true with any congregation and just clergy people in general, no matter what denomination. But today there are 33 Christian Brother high schools in the U.S., and there are still hundreds worldwide, especially a lot in Europe and Australia. Edmund did die in 1844. He did not go unnoticed, though. He was beatified in 1966 by Pope John Paul II and became known as Blessed Edmund Rice. So basically, he's a very important figure in the Catholic Church, and that's really important to know, knowing his impact on not just society, but also Catholic education. I personally did teach at a Christian Brothers school, and it was a great experience. And also getting to know the brothers there was a very good learning experience for me, and seeing very devout men devoted to their calling as educators. School vouchers is the current trend that I dove into. Basically what they are is tax dollars that are awarded to students in order to pay for private schools of their parents' choosing. It's a highly controversial topic politically, mainly because it pulls kids who are high achieving most of the time out of schools that are struggling, because the parents want better for their kids. Typically it is a divisive topic between conservative and liberal ideologies. Voucher history has been around for quite some time. Vouchers have been. They date back to Europe a long time. In the United States, it dates back to the early 1800s. It became more controversial, however, in the last 30 years, with No Child Left Behind Act, and the NEA began taking a stand against its usage, mainly because it takes dollars away from public schools. The case against vouchers. This is basically the NEA's stance, National Educators Association. It hurts public schools as it takes money away and gives it to private schools. Schools shouldn't be punished, instead should receive more help if they are struggling. And some their last one of their last main points is vouchers are an elitist strategy to divert public money to private schools. The case for for school vouchers is that it gives parents a choice. A lot of parents liked the opportunity to choose what school their kids will go to. Also, sometimes it does give them access to better schools and education. No one, let's be honest, no parent wants their kid going to a bad school. Private schools also have higher graduation rates and higher acceptance rates into college. That is a fact that's well documented. Also, too, the private schools typically do provide a cheaper alternative to public schools. So, in essence, you could argue that they do save the taxpayers money because they educate for less. Also, most people who are for school vouchers would say that it makes all schools better. It's really about politics when it comes down to it, though. Democrats are typically against vouchers as they are pro-union. Republicans support it as they believe it makes schools better because it brings a free market approach to education. Private schools using vouchers. Not all are willing. This was also in the case of Edmund Rice, who we just spoke about. He was actually against the idea of accepting government money as he didn't want strings attached, and that could be that that you weren't allowed to push your religious ideology on the kids if you were accepting federal dollars. In Ireland at the time, what happened was they saw his schools and they wanted to pump more money into them in order to help educate more people, and he was hesitant to do so. But to this day, though, all his schools today in the U.S. accept some form of federal money if it's available. One of his biggest things in all of his schools is if parents want their students to receive a Catholic education, they are going to make it happen, and that includes accepting federal dollars as well. Some feel, though, it can lead to a reputation taking a hit, which is another reason that they might not be willing to accept vouchers. One thing that this has impacted on my personal learning philosophy is the research furthered my knowledge in this area. I did make a comment in the discussion boards that one thing I did find out was about the Step Up program here in Florida, where I actually qualify when my kid goes to school to use a voucher type system in order to pay for a percentage of my child's education if I so choose to send her to private school. While I work in the public school sector, I am pro-student and believe school choice should exist because I do personally believe it makes all schools better. We need to compete for these dollars, and I realize that I'm against the norm in public education, but I feel that we need to do a better job, and it starts when there's a competition. Because right now there's politics involved, and people just don't feel like we have to do what's best for the student at times. I do believe this because it is my goal to teach and assist all, and failing schools, in my opinion, produce failing children. It's not fair, and it's not fair to our society as well. Just because the school's bad doesn't mean that the parents have to accept it. That's just not fair to parents either. I believe it positively impacts the schools and students, and I will promote the idea of school choice as I believe it is best for students. We need to create better schools, and I think this is a good approach to doing so. I hope you have enjoyed my screencast, and I look forward to everything coming towards the end here in this last week of class. Have a great day. Thank you very much.